I think moving through the world as close as possible to your peak state, your peak performance, high performance self, is the best way to put yourself in a position to win and to find opportunities and to capitalize on this lottery ticket that we all were given. We're alive. We won the freaking lottery. Like, I think Gary Vee said the math one time is 400 trillion to 1. That's the odds of all the, makings to get to be a human being. All of the odds that the biology and everything has to overcome to get here is 400 trillion to 1. So everyone who is alive has a lottery ticket, and it's time to
You have to prime yourself every day with that kind of clarity and reminding yourself of that, because I know it's not easy to always carry around that positive state and awareness. Like, how do you prime yourself every day to stay in that? Welcome to the show. Nathan Newberry, your host. We have Rowan North here on the call with us today. Rowan, kick us off with just your story a little bit about what you do, how you do that. But right before that, tell us, what does high performance mean to you? Give us a definition of how that take is from you, brother.
Thanks, Nathan. Appreciate it. Appreciate being here. And high performance to me is when you are in a state of optimal agency, when you have total control over your mind, your body, your spirit, and your environment. Now, that's a perfection that of a horizon that to aim for. It's never fully achieved, but it's that full sense of autonomy and tapping into full capacity. Because, that whole myth about using a fraction of our brain, which is not actually accurate, by the way, but
right.
But it's that full, perfection, the Vitruvian man, the state of perfection that, the Ubermensch, like, that we strive for. And that to me is high performance. It's not necessarily all the particulars that people usually associate with high performance: strength, competence, speed, capability. All of those things orbit around this notion of a perfect being and a perfect state of control and agency. So that's what I think of as high performance.
Cool, man. Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you do, man. Help the audience know about your success and what you're up to.
So my background is in video. I made a short film in high school. I didn't really have the grades to graduate, so I brokered a deal with my principal at the time and said, if I make this short film, can I get my diploma? And she was good with it, and I made the film. I was a skater, kind of rebel skater, all throughout high school, and so it told the story of my life, and I went through some rough stuff in high school. And so it was a metaphorical short film telling the story of my life, the arc of the ups and downs and ups again, told through the metaphor of skateboarding. I ruptured my spleen super bad when I was 15, launching off of a pyramid, and that sent me down a very dark path. But I wasn't fully out of it by the time I graduated, but I had enough of the sense to like make a film about it and be like, there's this arc. And my mom's boss submitted it to a film festival without us knowing, and it got in.
Wow.
And that set me on this trajectory of getting into the video and film world, and went to school for it and got a job at Microsoft, worked in all different capacity of documentary, corporate, nonprofit, social media, and now I run a business helping entrepreneurs, helping founders grow their founder-led businesses through their personal brand. Amazing. And I'm living it. I'm eating my own dog food. I'm doing it myself as well.
Amazing, man. Yeah, tell us a little bit about you, like when you were starting out as a high performer. Like, it seemed like things didn't start clicking until your career took off. Like, you kind of knew some of like the alignment of like some things you were interested in, and I've never heard of someone brokering a deal to kind of finish up school. I mean, it's cool. So it's kind of interesting. how that all works out. Maybe that's just the American school system that we have here.
Oh, Americans are always looking to strike a deal. So yeah. So what was the question again?
When did things start shifting into your mind that you're a high performer? Like where you're really starting to take ownership of yourself, of the decisions you're making, and really kind of shifting into gear at a high performance.
Well, I started becoming a high performer this afternoon.
Okay. When you ate your Wheaties? When you ate your Wheaties today?
I got my Wheaties. No, I my coffee and root beer floats. No, it's been an up and down journey like the stock market. There have been periods of major growth and then learnings as I tumble down the next hill and then pick myself up and shoot for the next big target. And a huge transition happened though in 2016 and 2017. I was laid off from my job and I started a business and it was going great, but I had dug such a deep rut of depression, clinical depression at my corporate job, that I became suicidal, and it pushed me to the brink of, I was a young dad. I had, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and the relationship I was in, we were really pushing each other to the limits, and it just was a really dark time. And I didn't have a lot of self-awareness. I didn't have a ton of, I just wasn't into that stuff. I wasn't into mindfulness and all the kinds of things that, personal development that we all high performers associate with. And so it really took that crisis point to catalyze and kickstart me into a huge change. So my partner at the time, Mary, who's my co-parent and, one of my best friends now, everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. But at the time, we were really going through the inferno. The ring of fire was like, we split up. And she was like, you can't be like this around the kids. You can't be suicidal. You have to leave and get better. So I went to Austin, Texas for a year and a half, close to 2 years. Really I moved in with her brother. I worked on myself super hard. Like I just treated it like a full-time job. Like I worked while I was down there and sent money back and stuff. But like I treated it like a full-time thing of like cracking the code of my mind. And what had gone wrong. Like getting like jailbreaking my brain, getting down to the source code of what is what are the sources of my discontent, and getting down to the root causes and really becoming a high performer of self-awareness. Self-awareness is a superpower. Yeah. If you're self-aware and you walk through the world and you're like, ooh, I'm having like a feeling of something doesn't feel right. Like, is this because of the situation, or is it because I have indigestion from that habanero sauce I had at lunch, and my brain is trying to construct a story as to why something's wrong, like, because that's a big part of our emotions is our physiology, and our homeostatic vicissitudes and imbalances affect our psychology, and our brain is this storytelling factory trying to generate meaning from moment to moment. And so oftentimes it has nothing to do with the environment or the circumstance. It's just your body's just like, you need you need some Tums. But so that was a huge journey going from zero to hero down in Austin. I taught myself how to dance. That was like a catalyzing moment. I started my Instagram channel. I started when I was down there. Originally, it was all dance. It was called Dance Away Darkness. If you go back to the very beginning, it's all daily dance videos. I was learning like the super popular at the time, the electro swing, you see people doing the shuffle and stuff. Like I was all about that. And that's actually how I met my fiance, Dana, who's from Canada. She's from Vernon. just an hour north of Kelowna. I met her because of a dance video that I did. We were on Hinge, and she was like, "That guy is joyful. Like, I want to like." And so we just started talking, and it rest is history. So I think moving through the world as close as possible to your peak state, your peak performance, high performance self, is the best way to put yourself in a position to win and to find opportunities and to capitalize on this lottery ticket that we all were given. We're alive. We won the freaking lottery. Like, I think Gary Vee said the math one time is 400 trillion to 1. That's the odds of all the, makings to get to be a human being. All of the odds that the biology and everything has to overcome to get here is 400 trillion to 1. So everyone who is alive has a lottery ticket, and it's time to
Do you have to
capitalize
prime
that.
yourself every day with that kind of clarity and reminding yourself of that? Because I know it's not easy to always carry around that positive state and awareness. Like, how do you prime yourself every day to stay in that?
Totally. I don't. Nowadays, I want to get back into, and I feel like I'm in a new growth phase. I got to a level where I had done so much work on myself that it was sort of like that pattern of pausing and creating space between the stimulus and response and choosing my response with high agency became such a habit of mind and cognition that I I still meditate, I still do all the things, I exercise, but I have a long way to go. But I don't do the full priming stuff that I did in the early days. But I want to get back into it in a big way because I feel like now with Elite and this whole thing that's going on in the online world of these personal brand driven founder led businesses, this is like a new boom time of the web and of social media. And you couple that with AI, which you and I have spoken about a lot and are both fascinated by. It is a window of opportunity right now to massively capitalize on the growth headwinds of what is going on in the world. So I'm like all in. Whatever I can do to tap into high performance at every level, I'm in. Like whatever I'm in. So yeah,
it's interesting. You're coupling a lot of things with identifying who you are, right? Understanding that awareness, and then you're leading that into opportunities for yourself to succeed, not only in your own day but also entrepreneurship. And I think so many times people that are a victim of that aren't able to really prime their mind. They're just in a self-destructing pattern, not only in their life, in their relationships. Like, how have you been able to pull people out or give some clarity on some habits of performance of what you've had to deal with or do? Maybe there's some principles or habits that you've learned that could help people out of those stages, or what would be some catalyst things? Because it's so interesting. You said dancing. I mean, that's something I haven't really heard yet, but that's a cool one. I could see how it can be uplifting and positive with it.
It is, well, first of all, thank you for that question. It's a great question because it is one of the highest leverage questions to ask is when you're stuck in a rut or a pattern, how do you get out of it? Because we are creatures of habit. Our brains are wired for laziness. It is metabolically expensive to be alive and to wake up and to move through the day. Not even beginning to think about change and, working on yourself. That is super expensive metabolically. So our brains will do anything they can to keep us in familiarity and to not rock the boat. The easiest way that I've found, and I've done it more than once, not just in the move to Austin, but at other times in my life, the biggest point of leverage you can get is to change your environment. Because our environment is full of these subconscious triggers and cues that trip us back into the patterns that we have established. So even if, like, for a lot of people that might feel overwhelming and like, I can't move, I can't pick up my life, I have kids, or like, if there's some way you can rearrange your environment, you could still live in the same house, but rearrange your furniture radically, or do something in your physical context that forces your brain to approach your physical day in a different way and be triggered in a different sequence of steps. Because the brain is sort of like, if this, then that. If I walk into the kitchen and the dishes are in this position on this counter, I feel like I'm going to go through the day and I'm going to fall into this pattern of behavior. But if you start to change things and you force your brain to be on alert, then you create these little micro windows of intervention where it's like, okay, the brain is distracted. You know, it's like when someone gets punched and they're kind of like reeling for a second, and you have an opportunity to step in there and intervene.
Yeah.
You're doing that in a micro sense for your brain. So you're creating the opportunity for, at every stage of your physical encounters throughout the day, little pattern interrupts that if you can't afford to, or you don't want to move your whole world and your whole life from the place you're living, just rearrange the place you're living.
I love that. That's a great idea. I know for me, I had to reverse engineer what I thought was an ideal day. Because oftentimes people don't do that. They just go through life accepting things as is. And I had to think about it, like, where do I want to work? You know, what type of work do I want to do? What do I want to drive? How far do I want to drive? What's the atmosphere? What do I want for my kids and my wife and my atmosphere? What do I want to look at? How do I want to think all the time? And so I try to reverse engineer where I look at my day and I plan ahead of time. And so, like, I love just moving things around. Like, I remember working one time and I took over a branch at a company, at a recruiting company I was running. And the gal that was working at the desk, she had to print stuff. This was, before a lot of the digital stuff. But literally, the copy machine was like super far away. I mean, it's not like one of those huge ones. It's like one of those little ones. And I was like, what are we doing here? I went and grabbed it and put it right next to her computer. And I was like, here we go. Like, why are we wasting time here of like trying to do it? Like, it's
going on a marathon every time there's a PDF.
And so, it wasn't because she wasn't doing it. It was just, it was normal of accepting those things. And so I try to think of this, and tell me what kind of routines you look at. But like, I prep my lunch the night before. I prep, my gym shorts and everything. And so the time the alarm goes off, I don't hit the snooze button. I get up and I know exactly what I'm doing. And I want my rhythms, that they're positive ones, to be no-brainer for me, where it becomes this ingrained habit, because it's so easy to drift on doing bad things, but drifting into like the success things and just staying true to that. How do you end up kind of doing those things for yourself, or what would you, suggest people or teach people on some of the elements like that?
I love that, Nathan. And I love that story of the printer, because it's like, there's so many analogs to that in our lives where there's something that is just highly irrational. And it's like, if you were to stand back and look at it, it'd be like, why do I do this thing that is does not make sense? So that's a great analogy and metaphor for a lot of things. But for me, in terms of setting myself up for success every day, I have my running shoes right next to the door, ready to go. And I have a fresh towel and my Adidas slip-ons nearby in the same exact spot. And every day I do a run, and then I do a cold plunge. I've been doing a cold plunge for since January 1st, 2023. I don't remember the exact day. I'll have to come back but I literally have been doing it. I used to post a video of it every day. I still record the video every day of my cold plunge, but I've just shifted my priority of production in terms of my business and stuff to try to shift my feed away from a shirtless dude in the water, just a wall of that. So, but I'm periodically doing these like montage of plunge videos. But I'm close to 700 plunges here. Just approaching. So like
consistency at it. Yeah, that's great.
December 1st will be the 700th plunge, I believe. And so, but on the 1000th plunge, I'm going to write a book. And guess what the title is? I got this from a fellow elite member. It's called Plunge into Yourself. And I'm still working on the subtitle, but it's a fun.
I like it.
I love double puns and wordplay. And just being just
and talking about that. I mean, if someone's listening to this, we have him in like this. I am kin enough.
I am kin enough. Pink, multi-spectrum, multicolored. Like I feel like. Excuse me. I feel like we're all gonna die someday, and none of this is as important as we frequently make it out to be. Like what really matters is the people we love, the good we put out into the world while we're here in this form, and everything else is just details.
Yeah.
And there's so much fun that we could be having while we're doing this, stuff called life.
Let me ask this question too. What's you're a unique guy that does a lot of cool stuff. What does your everyday carry look like? What do you, when you go somewhere, what is something you
what
bring
do I carry on me?
Yeah. What's your everyday carry? What's that?
I got a Rambo knife strapped to my thigh. No, my everyday carry is my phone. Obviously, that's like biologically attached. And I always have my AirPods in. I cannot function without music. It's literally oxygen for me.
Yeah.
I asked a question on Elite the other day about ADHD, and people kept sending me videos of Dan over the years in little Q&As where he's talked about his solutions to his ADHD. And one that kept coming up, which I so resonate with, is just this obsession with music. Yeah. Because I realized that it's similar to people who are on the spectrum. It's a form of stimming. It's a form of like the mind is so overactive in people on the spectrum and people with ADHD. It's like there's this hyperactive brain that needs to be doing something. And so fidget spinners, like stimming, like it's all just stimming. And so for me, music has been, my whole life it's been this way. But I had this epiphany after last week's call that stimming is actually a superpower if you leverage it for cultural ingestion. So I have listened to more music than the average bear because of this. And so I have this LLM, this massive hippocampal database of lyrics and melodic motifs and rhythmic patterns and just, trivia about music that I love calling on for playful cultural references and weaving into little songs and jingles that I make up throughout the day.
I love it, man. Yeah. Well, how can people follow you and connect with you further, brother?
Oh, I love it. This has been so fun. And people can find me on Instagram at Rowan Owl North, all one word, Rowan Owl North. Owl is my middle name. I was raised by hippies. I was born in a barn, but don't read into it. I grew up on an island. I grew up on Lopez Island in the Northwest, and it's just chock full of hippies. It's like they all moved there in droves in the 70s and 80s. And there was this wave of kids in my generation that we all grew up with names like Firefly and Raven, So Owl is my middle name. Rowan Owl North, at Rowan Owl North. That's where
I'll put all the links down below that everybody can connect you with. But amazing. I'm super glad to connect with you. For people
Likewise,
that
brother.
need more video editing, for if
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur and if you're also looking for more mindset clarity on stuff,
Hit me up.
he definitely can help you out with a lot of that.
One last thing I will add is a tattoo that I got during the pandemic, which is also part of my daily mantra. And I look at it every day and remember it, which is that problems are inevitable. We will always, and if you like reframe the idea of problems as puzzles, whatever you want to call it, but like don't think of a problem as a bad thing. Just think of it as like something is, needs to be wiggled. We need a little wiggling going on because there's something a little off. And so let's deal with the conflict and find the puzzle pieces to fit back together. That's always going to happen because we're always going to have errors in our map, our model of the world. So there's an infinite amount of corrections to be done to those problems. But they are soluble. Problems are soluble. I mean, if something is not forbidden by the laws of physics, it's possible and achievable given the right knowledge. So just walk through your day with playfulness and a sense of curiosity, a Jeff Goldblum sense of wonder, and life can be just dazzling.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much for listening in. We had Rowan here today, and we will see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Really fun.